Meditation Garden Service. It's wonderful to see all of you today. With special welcome to those of you who are viewing from home as well. With us today we have Darius Lux, our musical guest. Thank you, Darius. It's always a pleasure. Darius has some CDs back here too, so be sure to check those out. Also with us again this week is Shara. It's so great to see you. Shara's going to be speaking to us about leading with presence. All right, wonderful topic. Just a few announcements as always. So first of all, we want to give a big shout out to Todd and Tony. Because we are now streaming live. I'm sure many of you have heard that, but we're super excited about that. And it took them a bit to get that up and going, but you can now view us on the Unity of Tustin website. You can go to YouTube, and you can still go to Facebook if that's your preference. So thank you, Tony and Todd. Today, Sunday supper at the Aldersgate Methodist Church. So if any of you haven't volunteered for that, it really is a wonderful and meaningful experience. You can get with Susan Gilmore with that or check your email, but that's happening twice today if volunteers are still needed there. Conscious Conversations, Wednesday, 6 p.m. this week will be with Craig Phillips and special guest Fabian Muehlman. And they'll be talking about the power of synchronicity. I love that topic, and I actually love to hear the two of them discuss that topic together. It should be a good evening. Again, all of this stuff is accessible online. At the same time, Youth and Family Ministry will be supporting game night for the kids. And I think Wednesday night is the younger kids, Thursday night is the older kids, but Erin is doing an amazing job putting all of that together with some support from others, but she's doing an amazing job. So bring your kids, bring your grandkids, have game night. It sounds fun. Next weekend, Saturday, we'll be having a meditation garden work day. So for those of you who want to get out, get a little exercise, it'll be socially distanced, but you can speak with Connie Carter about that. We do that from 9 to noon every so often, and this one happens to be this Saturday coming up. And I would be remiss to talk about the gardens and not mention Harvey Beery. We are so grateful. If you have not seen Site 4 and all the restoration work that he and his wonderful team did on that site, it really is amazing. You can read all about it in this week's bulletin, but it looks terrific. So come on out, be like Harvey, and join us for some garden cleanup if you can. Two more quick things. One, bookstore's open, so feel free to visit the bookstore if you would like. And Jack is here as our prayer chaplain right back here. So he'll meet you over here if you'd like to do some socially distanced prayer. And the final thing I've got for you today is I will be at this, there's free books, first of all, back here on the this table back here, and I will be back by the table as well if anybody wants to share anything with the board, give us any, tips, things you'd like to talk about or suggest. I'll be back there for about 15 minutes after the service, so please come say hi. So with that, I will hand it over to, do we have a net today? Let's see. Todd. Oh, Todd's going to do it. Beautiful. Okay, we hand it over to Todd for Surely the Presence. Enjoy the service.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Divine love, creator of all that is, we come to you today fresh and clean from last week's winds, ready to celebrate the love and heart of this sacred community together. Connected by Spirit, we bring ourselves forward with open minds, open hearts, and open will, so that we may be blessed by your love, sweet Spirit, and in turn shine that love forward through our radiant hearts and through inspired action. We are so grateful for this dance of life, and we pray this in the name and after the nature of the indwelling Christ presence. Amen.
In the silence, feel the sacred surrounding me. I surrender to this moment. I open up and I find peace in the stillness, in the silence. Feel the love inside of me. I surrender to this moment. I open up and I find peace. Let my soul speak with each heartbeat, with every breath I take. In the stillness, in the silence, feel the light inside of me. I surrender to this moment. I open up and I find peace. Let my soul speak with each heartbeat, with every breath I take. In the stillness, in the silence, feel the Spirit surrounding me. I surrender to this moment. I open up and I find peace. I open up and I find me.
Thank you, Darius. The daily word for today, March 7th, is World Peace. Celebrating diversity and affirming unity, I am a presence of peace in the world. The road to world peace begins with my open-hearted acceptance of those who are different from me. Our world is vast and diverse, and its people come from a wide variety of cultures and histories. The more I learn about those whose lives differ from mine, the more I can appreciate their perspectives and empathize with their troubles. When I make the decision to understand others, I discover that judgment fades in the light of compassion. Today, I sow peace through my acceptance and understanding. Peace in the world grows as I join my brothers and sisters in celebrating the glory of human diversity and affirming oneness in God. And the scripture is from Isaiah. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore.
Now let's move into this sacred time of meditation, with a meditation inspired by the Center for Action and Contemplation. And let's begin by focusing on the breath. Taking a deep breath in, holding it, and exhaling fully. Now close your eyes if you would like, and allow yourself to breathe naturally, and listen with the ears of the heart as we prepare for the capital YHWH prayer. We often think you shall not take the name of God in vain is a prohibition against swearing. But a deeper meaning of speaking the name of God in vain is to speak the name of God casually, with a false presumption of understanding the mystery, as if we knew what we were talking about. Some believe the name of God should not be spoken at all. The sacred tetragrammaton of the Hebrew Bible, YHWH, was not even to be pronounced with the lips. Vocalizing the 4 consonants does not involve clothing the mouth. A rabbi taught that God's name was not pronounceable, but only breathable. YH on the captured in-breath, and WH offered on the out-breath. God's eternal mystery cannot be captured or controlled, but only received and shared as freely as the breath itself, the thing we have done since the moment we were born, and one day will cease to do in this body. God is as available and accessible as our breath itself, and our job is to both receive and give this life breath. We cannot only inhale, and we cannot only exhale. We must breathe in and out, accept and let go. So for the next couple of minutes, let's pause in meditation and breathe mindfully, surrendering to the mystery of wordless air, the sustainer of life. Part your lips, relax your jaw and tongue. Hear the air flow in and out of your body as we consciously breathe the name of God. YH, WH, in the silence. And may your breathing in and out for the rest of your life be your prayer to and from such a living and utterly shared God. You will not need to prove it to anyone else, nor can you. Just keep breathing with full consciousness and without resistance, and you will know all that you need to know.
Feel the future, it's alive. Open the book and look inside. Live your life the way you want to live it. Give it all and you will surely get it. Turn the key, open the door. When nothing's left, find some more. I feel the change, I hear it turn around. I see that change, I feel it coming now. And oh, don't look back. Ooh, don't look down. Out of the grind, into the light, moving beyond what is seen, living the dream. Some people live for yesterday, not me, no way. Working hard, maybe working smart. Some have a vision, some don't know where to start. A child is born from the unseen. They are free, not yet stuck in between. It's gonna change, I can hear it turn around. I see that change, I feel it coming now. And oh, don't look back. Ooh, don't look down. Out of the grind, into the light, moving beyond what is seen, living the dream. Living the dream, living the dream, living the dream.
Thank you, Darius. And thank you, all of you, for being here. You are the intrepid community members. I often joke that when you Californians complain about the weather, but it's actually kind of cold today. So I give you a lot of credit. And I actually heard a joke that's I just have to share because it's so Southern California. Goes like this: what does the out-of-towner say when she's asked about the Santa Ana winds? Anyone know the answer? Well, she thinks about it for a second and says, well, if Carlos thinks adding clarinets will make his band better, why not? That actually got a good response. I thought maybe it was a low bar, so then I could just say the talk is only going to go up from there, right? But no, the winds kicked off a week of activity. We were blown into the sanctuary, and we were able to practice having an indoor service with a small amount of socially distanced congregants. And it was the first time we've had service indoors with community members for almost a year. So that was a wonderful kind of new blessing as with this spring things start opening up. Amy John had a choir meeting on Monday, followed by a prayer chaplain meeting by Jean-Claude. I got to see firsthand the deep prayer consciousness in this community. Wednesday, the Simmons talked about their ministry model of moving from fear to second-tier consciousness. And as a group in How to Lead When You Don't Know Where You're Going, we talked about how to create the future that we want to be part of. And it's become a brainstorming class for the community as we move into this place of reemergence. I know Mary Jean had a recent women's group. The Mutts are still meeting. There's still a lot of life that has persisted on this campus. And there's more even coming. We had meditation groups on campus. We had a yoga class on campus. We had a very large recovery group celebrating outdoors. We've had an average of 2 million people vaccinated per day last week. So something new is emerging. And when the new normals are still unknown, but with our prayerful intention and attention, what emerges will be in integrity with the spirit and soul of our community. And that's the core value that our spiritual ministry team is going to be focusing on for the month of March, is our core value for integrity. And our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, does ask us to be in integrity with our unity movement. In Jesus' soul evolution, he makes the following point. In us is the capacity to evolve or bring forth divinity. In our human evolution and our spiritual unfoldment, the goal is for our will to be taught by prayer and meditation how to evolve our capacity to bring forth divinity. In our transformational process, we are evolving our capacity to bring forth divinity, and that means we are acting as an authentic unity church. So he's actually quite clear. What he's saying is we are in integrity as a unity church when we center the evolution of spirit and consciousness grounded in prayer and meditation. It's a good guidebook. And yet, as we've been talking about, our unity movement and many, many congregations around the country are going through a period of de-evolution in terms of finances, numbers of participants, the number of new people joining. However, in this community, there is no de-evolving of the love, the connection, the way our lives are empowered and improved by our participation in community. That is not devolving, but the question becomes, how do we preserve that? How do we best preserve that in times that are changing? So leaders who have been studying this, like Susan Beaumont, she's convinced we cannot work harder in our existing model and evolve. Instead, she's coaching to let go of norms, discern our missional identity, our charism that we're being called to bring forward, and evolve into a new model of leadership where power is decentralized and moves from a minister-centered model to a mission or charism-centered model. So I hope you can see how these go together. When power is decentralized, there's room for all of us to step up in that power, there's room now for us to take a step forward and minister to each other. And whether it's big or small, we're doing things we've never done before. We're creating something from nothing. We're following the still small voice that guides us to step forward in a new way. And when we do that, that in itself is a key that allows us to develop our own capacity to evolve and express divinity into the world. As power hierarchies flatten and we all step up, we all do the sacred process of, what is it now? Grow up, show up, clean up, and what's the other four? What is it? Hold on, I'm going to get it. We show up, clean up, grow up. It'll come at the end. But we get to do all of that. We get to do all of that when we step forward and when we really become in integrity. And there's a concrete way we can look at this that I think kind of brings it home. When this community was going through a transition a number of years ago, I believe you had a ministerial consult come and do the church's genealogy. So transitional ministers generally create a genealogy of the ministry's history, with each era being defined by who was the senior minister. What years were they were active? What were the strengths and challenges of that time? What came forward? What slipped away? And to me, isn't it fascinating that each era begins and ends with the senior minister's tenure? We want ministers who are not egocentric, but yet we create entire eras around their beingness. It's a little bit of a paradox. So in the new model, the eras are formed by our missional identity, not the identity of one person. So for example, the Simmons mission statement is transforming lives, inspiring the congregation to take inspired action in the world and create a positive difference. So the genealogy would look like this. From year 2022 to 2031, that was the era of that mission. This is what grew from it. This is what the challenges were. These were the lessons learned. And the people involved, the ministers involved, become kind of incidental. It's rather something we all galvanize and that pulls us forward to what's next in our organizational ministry consciousness and what's next in our individual consciousness that we get to grow into by participating in that organizational consciousness. So we move from an egocentric model to an eco-centric model, from ego awareness to eco-awareness. And integrity is particularly needed during these liminal times of moving from me to we, because it's a big shift. It's a big shift, and it's a big collective communal responsibility. And if you're anything like me, it probably makes you a little bit uncomfortable, kind of being stirred up. But Richard Rohr says fear is not our biggest obstacle to growth and transformation. Comfort is. Comfort is our biggest obstacle to growth and transformation in our individual lives and in our collective organizational lives. There's a mysterious connection between discomfort and change. Our discomfort has the capacity to wake us up, to shake us out of our isolated thinking, and to further unite us in solidarity with each other. So our job during these liminal times is to have the integrity to connect to the divine and to each other and remain non-anxious. Easy, right? Ed Catmull says there's a sweet spot between the known and the unknown. And that is where originality happens. And the key is to be able to linger there without panicking. So perhaps you can feel into the integrity this requires, to stand fully in the moment, in the liminal space between death and birth, knowing that standing there without panicking is the very thing that will allow the new thing to arrive. Now, Susan Beaumont uses the term presence to define this level of integrity. There's a tiny little glimmer of those Santa Anas. I heard they get much, much worse. Presence has its root in our unity prayer and meditation practices because it cultivates our capacity to see people, to see events, to see our own lives through the eyes of spirit, through the Christ consciousness, by looking at things centered and focused through the eyes of God. So I wonder if you can do that now. Just take a moment and imagine looking at the changes happening in the world, happening in your life, happening in this community, happening on a global scale, through the eyes of spirit. Just bring forward that consciousness of the Christ that exists within each of us as our divine birthright. You know, for several years, I taught the psychology of consciousness at Southwestern College, which is a transformation-based graduate school that focuses on counseling and art therapy. And in our second semester, students have to choose a light figure. And their assignment is to study and embody the consciousness of that light figure so that it can train our individual consciousnesses to see with that capacity that the light figure, the change agents that lived on this planet and brought in the sacred future through their inspired vision, so that each student can know that and embody that for themselves. And one of the assignments was to journal about what was happening on the global community and personal level as seen through the eyes of the light figure, to anchor that consciousness in the individual. Really powerful work. And then at the end of the semester, each individual student gave a presentation as the consciousness of the light figure, not only to further embody it, but also to be seen by others as that light figure consciousness, to really bring it home. And that's the integrity of presence. When we can see with the eyes of spirit, when we can be seen with the eyes of spirit, and when we can trust more in the unfolding of God and less in our own need to predict and control. Richard Rohr says, in presence, we let go of agendas, anger, fear, and judgments. In the empty space created by this release, we invite God to speak and we seek to listen. With contemplative hearts, we live openly and lead with mercy and patience. We embrace our own vulnerability and become generous towards the unsettling issues that are facing us in the here and now. And Susan Beaumont continues, presence is an awareness characterized by an openness to wonder. Presence demonstrates a willingness to experiment, take risks, and learn from mistakes. It is guided by spirit and it is willing to face failure. Presence is the capacity of knowing that emerges from the intelligence of the heart and spirit, from a place of wisdom. In a state of presence, we recognize our God-given self, interdependent with the God-given self of the spiritual community we lead and are a part of. So we turn our attention to the question, how do we further cultivate this integrity of presence so that we can be conduits of the evolution of the divine into the world? And to investigate this, I'm going to turn to Otto Scharmer. And he is an MIT professor who created Theory U, which is a contemplative leadership model that's similar to liminal space, encourages a letting go and letting come process to cultivate innovation and evolution. And what is fascinating to me is that while churches are in decline, clearly the hunger for contemplative wisdom is not in decline. Over 130,000 people have taken his course, which is called Leading from the Future as It Emerges. He's talking about the exact same thing Charles Fillmore was talking about, just not using spiritual language. So Scharmer teaches that there are two sources of cognition. One is a self-reinforcing cognition, where we just take in information and fit them into our existing schema and neural pathways, so we know that we know. So we're on top, and nothing really changes. The other form of cognition is knowing, and knowing is the seat and soul of profound innovation. Knowing is activated by observing, by keenly observing, letting what we think should be go away and letting the now moment show us in our openness how to respond. The next step, he says, just like good Unity students, he tells us next go into the stillness. He uses that exact same term. Go into the stillness and hold the questions of your heart. He says, hold the question, what is the story of the future we want to be part of? And allow that knowing to emerge. So it's really our fourth Unity principle, to discern how Spirit wants us to evolve through meditation and prayer. And then Otto moves to our fifth Unity principle. Understanding is not enough. You have to put feet on it. You have to act. You have to bring it out in the world. And then experiment, trial, and error. And let the new thing cultivate. Let it root. Let it become. I just love that it's so congruent what we know in our hearts, what we study, and what we have allowed to shape our own consciousness. And he calls his program Theory U because he sees it in a U shape. So at first we let go and we drop to the bottom of the U. In the bottom of the U is that sacred eye of the needle, where we are pulled forth by Spirit to the other side. And then we act on that emerging wisdom and we move up the U. And the process works best when each of us does our inner work, because not surprisingly, the quality of the new idea is related to the quality of the consciousness of the person who brought that new idea forward. Success depends on the integrity of presence, that inner quality of intention and attention that we bring to each moment. So Scharmer teaches that we develop our integrity of presence by cultivating our open mind, which is being open to the unknown, our open heart, which is our capacity to look at an issue from multiple viewpoints. In particular, he says, centering the viewpoint that is most marginalized. and through open will, which is our capacity to let go and let come, the mastery of evolving the new from that liminal space. And he learned that we can best cultivate open mind, open heart, and open will by our expanding our capacity to attune and listen to others. So I'm going to end with exploring these qualities of listening, because there's things that we can take with us and practice that are quite concrete in a way and quite helpful. So I'll describe them, and then just to build a little anticipation, we're going to do them. So you're going to participate. But listening one is what we talked about. It's that self-referential listening. It's when information simply reinforces our own perspective and reinforces how we're right and we've known all along. I think we can all identify with listening one coming quite easily sometimes. Listening two is factual wisdom, and he uses a circle. So in listening one, that circle is boundaried, and we are in the center. Not centered with I am consciousness, but centered more in a prison where we really can't get out of our own strong boundaries. In listening two, we are at the window between the inside and the outside. So we move from the center of our circle to the outer edge of our circle. Our awareness is there. And it creates the opportunity to at least see outside of ourselves. So there's some information that can come in or without. Listening three is empathic listening. This is where our center of awareness moves from the edge of our circle beyond and into your circle. This is where our awareness can center with the other. And we can even then see ourselves from the perspective of the other, moving from seeing through the eyes of God to being seen from the eyes of God, from the eyes of that spark of divinity that lives within each and every one of us. And then finally, listening four is generative listening, the highest form of listening. This is when that boundary of our circle starts to dissolve, and that sense of inside and outside and you and me starts to deteriorate. So we move out of separation into this collective oneness of who we are. So Otto Scharmer gives us gestures that help embody this, because he keeps trying to get us to learn how do we move this out of the head and into our lives. And we're in dialogue here at Unity to find out how we can do small groups, more small groups, so we can support each other in our evolution. Well, he creates small groups online throughout the whole world where people get together and talk about how was their listening for that week. How often were you in level 1, 2, 3, or 4? What were the barriers? What supports you in doing that? How will you do better next time? So we can cultivate our consciousness, and we can cultivate the way that we can live this better. So one way he helps us know this inwardly is through gestures. So at the risk of scaring you from ever coming to a Unity service live again, I'm going to ask you to participate with me and do this on your level of ability. If it's not easy for you to stand or sit down, please stay seated, use your arms and your imagination. And if you are able and comfortable, I invite you to all stand up. That's true for you at home. It might even be easier for you if you don't have too many people watching. And if you do, bring them along. And you get a little bit of a tricep workout too. So if you need to take a little break, feel free with your arms. So first, we're going to practice level 1 listening. And that goes like this. Interlock your fingers so that they're covering your eyes. Level 1 listening is where you're talking to me and I'm talking to you, but I am so boundaried in my prison I can't even see you. And there's no way for your essence to get in. So just feel what it's like on a soul level to relate from this place. Now, level 1 listening evolves with our own inner work into level 2 listening, which is factual listening. Here, our hands open, and they come next to our mind. And notice the difference. Our focus is still narrow. I can see here, I can see here as I pivot, but at least the organ of the mind is now open. I can see and be seen. There's a window. Now, this consciousness of listening evolves into empathic listening. And that looks and feels like this. Yeah. And perhaps you can feel it. How your attention moves from your mind to your heart. And your heart is now open. And you can connect heart to heart. That is now possible. And the final form of sacred listening, where we are most connected to the divine unfolding of spirit. You might not have the room, but it's about a step back. Only if your knees allow. But feel into it. This is when we are in service to the world of infinite possibilities that we have the privilege to bring forward in our own consciousness, and that makes us in perfect integrity with our unity principles to unfold more God into the world. I invite you all to rise. Give yourselves a round of applause for participating and engaging. And with that, I bless you. Thank you so much. God bless.
So not very many people can say they got their exercise at their church this morning. Mind, body, spirit, right? We've come to the time of celebrating the abundance of unity of Tustin. We thank you for your willingness and your generosity in financially supporting unity of Tustin. We know we give not out of a sense of obligation, but out of a sense of gratitude, acknowledging everything we possess belongs to God. Everything is God's. Whenever we give a gift, we stop and pray, knowing that God's love has always met and will always continue to meet all of our needs. We give freely and we receive joyously. And how blessed we are to simply remember God. Each person's giving is an expression of a generous heart full of faith, trust, and gratitude. Let's say the offering blessing together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And Darius has another gift for us.
Thank you, Shara, for your insights and inspirations. Part of what Shara was talking about is the shifting of eras, and as we hopefully come out of this lockdown, we move into a world that is in some ways known, right? And in other ways, it's unknown. And it can be scary, but it's also an opportunity to live differently, live more consciously, live in more alignment. This next song is an original song, and it's about stepping into what we don't know. It's about moving beyond fears, moving beyond what might be our perceived limitations. This song's called Stepping into the Great Unknown. Take these fears, I don't need them. I've already served them well. And take this foresight and this wisdom. There's nothing to teach me now. 'Cause the man I am is only half of what I'll be. Cutting my wings, but I'm still flying. Today didn't meet with all these insecurities. Maybe lost, but I'm still trying. I'm stepping into the great unknown. My only road is a path I rode. Embrace a world that I've never known. I'm finally free, yes. And if I change my emotions, ways that I think and feel, and I can change my ambitions, and all that I thought was real, then the man I am will be twice of what is now. Cutting my wings, but I'm still flying. The more I'll have for every piece that's disallowed. Maybe lost, but I'm not dying, no, no. I'm stepping into the great unknown. My only road is a path I rode. Embrace a world that I've never known. I'm finally free, yes. Stepping into the great unknown. My only road is a path that you roam. Embrace a world that I never known. And I'm finally free, finally free, finally free. I'm stepping into the great unknown. My only road is a path that you roam. Embrace a world that I never known. And I'm finally free, finally free, finally free. And it feels like home. Thank you.
Darius. So we end today, as we end all of our services or our meetings, with the prayer for protection, because it is the greatest affirmation of confirmation of our knowing that God is with us always. So let's say the prayer for protection as we exit to the left. The bookstore is open, and Jack is here to pray with you. Oh, there are? Okay. All right. So she's all in it today. So, okay. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Go forth and live it.